Hey, welcome to video number 152
to
of Walker This Way with Hazel Walker, the queen of all things.
BNI and networking.
I am Mark Simmons. Hazel, how you doing?
I'm feeling pretty casual today. I'm doing well.
Yeah, you could be however you are. So, Hazel, I've seen you on stage in front of 3,000
Oh
people
yeah,
before. Seen it a
I
lot of
love being
places.
on stage.
Yeah, I know
The
you
bigger
do.
the room, the better.
Yeah, and you shine on stage, and I've seen a whole room of 3,000 people crying after you were done. And they're crying with you, not at you. Oh my gosh. You were really impactful as you were speaking. But I would imagine, like most people early on in the years, um, you couldn't get on stage in front of 3,000 people and like nail it.
Mark, when I first started, my girlfriend and I launched the chapter that I was a member of, and I was the first president because that's what I made myself, the first president. And I remember, oh my God, we did the kickoff event where we had like 30, 40, 50 people in the room. I was sick after that. I went to the restroom with I couldn't eat. I couldn't do anything. I stuttered through it. It was not good. It was not good, but I made it, right? So I did. But if you would have ever said that I would be ever on stage speaking, especially in front of a room with many different languages and many different educational levels, I would have laughed at you and said that will never happen no matter what.
Right.
Never.
It's intimidating. And I know that for sometimes when I've interviewed applicants to chapters, when they hear they have to speak, like, no, I'm not doing it then. I'm out. It's like the number one fear thing is that, what do you mean I have to stand up every week and speak in front of a group of people?
I even had a guy stand up in the middle of the meeting and left. He was sitting next, he was a visitor. He goes, he watched us for a minute. He goes, I didn't know I had to do this. And he left.
Yeah.
He never came back.
And then on the other side of it, though, is now when you ask visitors what impressed you most, and a lot of times what you hear is, wow, just how all of you kind of stood up and nailed your weekly presentations, and you did it with such confidence. And the truth is, none of them started. Many of them, most of them, didn't start day one nailing their weekly presentation either. It's because that's part of the BNI structure. And one of the amazing things about being a BNI member is you learn how to public speak.
You learn how to stand in front of a group and say concisely what you need to say, which is one of the things that Toastmasters teaches you, because I went from being a member to being a director, right? As I was an assistant director. And then I went from assistant director to being the franchise owner. And I would have to go in and do all the educational moments and teach to the chapters. And I became painfully aware that I wasn't good at it. I was pacing the room. I had lots of ums and ahs and things. So I ended up in a Toastmaster meeting so that they could support me and help me learn the craft of speaking in front of the room. I had become more comfortable because of my chapter, but then I needed to learn the craft of it. And that helped a lot. But it's the number one thing when people leave BNI, they'll say the number one thing I got out of BNI was I'm able to communicate concisely in front of a large group of people.
Right? Yeah.
They say it all the time.
Yeah. I've seen a president at the beginning of a term, up there with the paper and they're shaking when they're reading, and looking down and don't want to maintain eye contact and anxiety ridden, because it can be intimidating, especially if it's not your thing to public speak.
Yeah.
But by halfway through the year and then for years down, they're just owning the space.
Right. They just stand there and it's complete confidence because they realize their entire group is behind them and supporting them and doing it. Right. So they feel more comfortable because people are cheering them on. There was a guy joined our chapter and he really wanted to be a member, and he was like carpet cleaning or something of that sort, but he couldn't speak. He just couldn't do it. he would stand up and he'd be lost. And so what we did for him was we wrote what he needed to say.
Mhm.
And then he would stand there and read his weekly presentation. He would just read exactly what we wrote until such time as he became comfortable.
Right.
And then he became really good at it, right?
Yeah.
So it's practice, practice, practice.
Right. And in the design of a BNI meeting, you're kind of forced into that arena to have to speak.
Mhm.
So you're going to get better.
You're going to get better. And then it's the other reason why we don't like our new members to have to do their feature presentation as soon as they join.
Yeah.
Because they need to get comfortable with the room. They need to have some relationships in the room. They need to be able to role model off of some of the good players in the room that are showing you how to do it, right? So that we can stand behind them and they can feel successful when they do finally get in front of the room to do their presentation.
Yeah. I know one of the things I ask in the weekly presentation advanced workshop that we run is ask the members, put up your hand if you don't sleep the night before your meeting. So many are like, yeah, I still don't sleep because they're worrying about what they're going to say. So we go through some things on writing it down and timing and everything so you can sleep. But the more confidence you get, the better you can sleep. Nobody knows your businesses better than you all know your businesses. So you can probably talk about them for a minute or 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then with the confidence you get from speaking every week in BNI, you become this master public speaker.
And over time, your presentation gets better and better.
Yeah.
And I still get nervous when I will tell you, a smaller group makes me more nervous than a giant auditorium. Mm-hmm. I can stand on an auditorium with 5,000 people. I feel comfortable. Put me in front of a group of 30 and I get a little bit more nervous. But I used to work for Zig Ziglar. He would come into town. He was on these book tour things he would do, right? And I would work the back of the room for him when he came to Indianapolis. And I remember asking him one time, because I was not a speaker then at all. I would say, don't you get nervous when you're up there? And he said, the moment you stop being nervous means you've stopped caring.
Yeah.
And the moment you stop being nervous and stop caring is the moment you need to probably retire.
Yeah. Because
the expectation is that you are nervous, but you learn to control that by doing some deep breathing and think about how are you going to make the audience better? And I will never forget having that conversation with him. And so when I get really nervous, I stand at the back of the stage, I do a little deep breathing, and then I go on the stage. I do that with the chapters too. When I go into the chapters and I get to be their 10-minute presenter, I still get nervous.
Yeah. There's a great video by Simon Sinek where he talks about interviewing, I think it was an Olympian, someone in the Olympics about the nerves. And not remember the whole piece of how it went, but the crux of it was that nervousness and excitement feel exactly the same.
They do. Yeah.
Like exactly the same. And this Olympian was saying, no, they're actually not nervous, they're actually very excited.
Yeah.
About what it is they're about to do. And this is exciting stuff. And, in BNI, there's so many benefits. One of the benefits is just being able to public speak, not just in BNI, but you take that into your businesses, and whether you know it or not, you're more confident when you're presenting to your clients and your customers.
Yeah, it does. It carries it perfectly over from BNI right into your sales. And people have said that to me. My sales are much better because I'm better able to speak to my prospects.
Yeah.
And get my point across. He who can communicate the best and get their point across is going to win.
Yep.
Right? First, because I can give you my point from clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I love that. That's one of the benefits of this organization. It makes for a better business world.
Absolutely. So BNI members, listen, if you're still nervous about public speaking, you're not alone. Stick with it. You're doing great. If you haven't heard Hazel speak, because Hazel does travel the world, hopefully in a city near you soon, on stage, take the opportunity to hear Hazel speak and impact an entire room. It's pretty cool to see. And if you're not in BNI and you're like, I don't know if I'm great at public speaking, come on over. It's one of the many things you'll learn.
That's one of the many things. And I just spoke at the International Conference for Toastmasters. And so there is a recording that they've got out for you to be able to watch where I teach about networking to the Toastmasters, because I love that organization.
Yeah. Perfect. All right, Hazel. Till next time.
See you then.
Bye.